I saw this post on Reddit where they were talking about Deku and Tanjiro, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about this because they are the same character in a sense. Like, if we think about it, they're both doing similar things, and I like the post, so I just want to give you my thoughts on this and see if this is something you resonate with, because in all likelihood, you and I are the exact same in these regards, and sometimes we might be loved versus we might be hated, even though we are doing the same things. So it's like nothing but kind and empathetic to everyone, including their enemies, aren't afraid to express themselves and show emotions, represent never... Wow, represent. I feel like that's not the right word. Represent never giving up, even if they end up breaking themselves. Selfless and willing to do anything to protect people no matter the cost. Inspired their friends to become the best versions of themselves. Brought forth a new era of peace through hard work, sacrifice, and dedication. So like both of them have done the work, and yet one of them is hated and then the other one is loved. And we can see how Deku has been able to save, like he saved him, he saved her. I don't think I've seen that movie yet. He saved all these other people. He saved villains. He transformed their lives. He's tried to do the different things. He's tried to help out in many different ways. And yet people don't seem to credit him with that, like his ability to save it, because of the fandom that comes along with My Hero. People like throw shade on My Hero. They throw this like, oh, we don't want to talk about this because like we don't like this character and we don't like this thing. And then I was reading this other thing though the other day on Reddit a couple weeks ago actually, where they were talking about how it's just like people don't like My Hero and then they watch it because they're going to make fun of it and then they end up falling in love with it. So I'm like, that's interesting. It's the same thing with like Tanjiro. Like Tanjiro, he's been able to save multiple different people. He's been able to have multiple different relationships, and he's been able to be stronger than he had ever been strong beforehand. So I just think about this in terms of like, just because like you don't like this character, just because you don't like this person, doesn't make that person bad. Like I am much more of a fan of Deku than I am of Tanjiro. Yeah, like that's how it is. I like his ability because he didn't have any powers, and yet he was able to train himself to become strong. And yet people hate him for that because they themselves would rather be in his position as well too. They're like, oh, he got lucky because he got handed down the power of like the hair. But like when you think about it, I did a short a little while ago around this where like he charged forward to save Bakugo when nobody else would. All Might wouldn't even charge forward to save Bakugo, and yet Deku was like, you know what, I'm just going to run because this is the right thing to do, so this is what's going to happen. Tanjiro, he did the same thing with his sister Nezuko and protecting Nezuko when they first like came in contact with her becoming a demon, and he's like, no, you know what, I'm going to save her, and I'm going to protect her, and I'm going to do the righteous thing to be able to make sure that I can defeat the enemies that stand within my way. I think it's just the fandom that comes along with it, because like we can look at some of the comments, it's just like one fandom is not like the other, and it's just like I don't believe that fandom should ever affect someone's enjoyment of the source of the fandom. And this is the problem that I've run into, is people think that you have to be loved or you have to be hated just because you enjoy doing this said thing. But in actuality, you can have so much more depth, you can have so much more understanding of where it is that you're coming from. You don't have to just like love one person or hate the other one. Like you can have all these virtues because both characters are virtuous, and yet they're both getting love and they're both getting hate. This is something that I myself have had to come over. I'm like, you know what? Like people are not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody's going to like the words that I say. Not everybody's going to resonate with the message that I have to present. Most people don't even watch to this point in the video. So if you're watching to this point in the video, clearly you are unlike other people out there, which is incredible, and it's valuable, and you need to start sharing the things that you have within your own world, because like it's just about helping people. Like it's just about bringing forth a new era of peace through hard work, sacrifice, and dedication. And it's never really even sacrifice or like hard work, because like if you love doing the work, then it's not really hard work and you're not sacrificing anything because you're just doing the thing that you yourself enjoy doing. Like you could say Deku was able to sacrifice certain aspects of himself to be able to defeat Shigaraki and all these other things, but it's also at the same time like he loves doing those things. He loves being a hero. He loves inspiring other people. He loves helping other people become the best versions of themselves. Like if Deku decided to stop because he was getting hated on, then like he never would have been able to inspire like Gentle Criminal and La Brava and the other villains to be able to go out and like help him in the most recent season. So I think about those things. It's just like it just takes one act. It just takes one act of kindness. And I was touching on that in a couple of videos ago where I was talking around how you can make an impact on the world. I was using the anime reference from Farron Beyond the Journey's End or something like that. And it's just, you don't know the amount of impact or the amount of like change that you're actually creating in a person. Like Deku, he doesn't do it because he's looking for the recognition. He's just doing it because it's the thing that he genuinely loves to do. Like he just loves saving people. He loves becoming stronger. He doesn't want to be the same weak person that he was, even though like even when he was a kid, he never was weak. He was always extending an open hand to the people around him. Tanjiro, he didn't necessarily have that same dedication. Like, he was more like family, like, I'm going to help my family, I'm going to help my family, I'm going to protect my family, which that's great. That's fantastic. Whereas like Deku, he's like, I'm going to help my friends. I'm going to help my friends. Maybe that's the part. Maybe that's why one person is like hated for where the other one's loved, is because this one does it for family, whereas this one's doing it for his friends. But it's just like, your friends can become your family just as much as your family can become your friends. So it's like, I don't see why one's hated versus the other than just like people's perception of what my hero is, and they read other things online and like, oh, this is the thing that everybody else is telling the show is like garbage. It's like, I've never watched Naruto, but it doesn't mean that the show's garbage. Like, it's just, that's just not something that resonated with me, just as much as maybe like Deku doesn't resonate very much with you. Like, that's perfectly okay. Like, you have the right to do those said things, but like, don't be making other people feel inferior because you don't like the thing that they like. Like, be open and willing to have a conversation. Like, a buddy of mine and I, we were talking about Elon Musk the other day. I don't know much about Musk, but like, I do know that some people love him and some people hate him, but he's doing what he wants to do. Too many of us start to focus our lives on other people's instead of looking at ourselves, because I know how painful and challenging that can be, because a lot of the times, sometimes you have to be selfish to be able to grow. Sometimes you have to be willing to do anything at any cost to make your dreams a reality. Deku, he's willing to put his life on the line to be able to make sure that he defeats and becomes, he doesn't even need to necessarily become the number one hero. He's just doing the job that he has been tasked to do. Like, that's really all it is, just as much as Tanjiro is doing the job that he himself has been tasked to do. So it's like, they aren't afraid to express themselves and show their emotions. Like, neither of them are. That's something that I've come to realize, is like, emotions is actually a strength, not a weakness. And if you want to understand your emotions, you can understand your emotions. If you want to try these different things and try to become a hero, just try to become a hero. Like, you don't even have to have powers in the beginning. You just have to be willing to stand up. And that's the great part about Deku, is he just stood up to the slime monster even if nobody else would, and yet he was rewarded for it. But like, he just acted without knowing about it. I was talking about that around chakras in the last video, around just like knowing that you can do the thing even if you don't know what will happen, but like, you just know that you can do it. Like, I knew that I could shave my head last night, or I knew that I could shave my beard, so that's what I did. So it's just like, there's always going to be this love-hate relationship between others, because some people, they'll think that like, oh yeah, he's great, I love him, but then they could be like, okay, well, I hate him, like, I don't like him. And it's just like, well, why? Like, what's your point? Where are you coming, like, where are you getting this from? Are you getting it from your own opinion, or are you getting it from other people's opinions? Like, where is it truly coming from? Because if you can understand where the root lies, and most of the time most people won't want to look at the root because that's more painful, and they'd rather just like skim it off and like sweep it under the rug until all of a sudden it piles up, and then like you just release everything else. But that's just something that I've come to realize, where I'm like, just do what you need to do. You're not going to be loved by everybody. Some people aren't going to like you. Some people aren't going to like the words that you say. Some people aren't going to resonate with the topics that you have in mind. But like, you can be happy doing the things that you do, because Deku, he doesn't worry about people hating him. He just goes out and he does the work that he needs to do, and he inspires the people that he needs to inspire. Tanjiro does the same thing too. He like goes out, he does the work, he trains, like he tries to inspire people, he tries to change people's perspective on certain things, because he knows that like sometimes you don't always have to be mean or rude to other people. You can just be nice. But some people will resonate more with one person versus the other, even though they are the exact same. They just might be presented in a different way. And I feel like you can always learn more from people that you don't like, because they're showing you aspects within your own self that you aren't necessarily aware of. Because we can look at it in terms of, and I'll draw this out really quick because it's something that I like being able to visually see. So like, we can look at this in terms of each person, and I've had people in my life as well too, where like, so there's this person that I wasn't a huge, we'll zoom in a little bit. So there's a person that I wasn't a huge fan of. Like, he was cool and all, but I was just like, him and I, we didn't really get along. Like, all we really did was we just kind of like fought with one another, which there was nothing wrong with that. But like, him and I, we just had these different experiences that led us down these different paths that we didn't necessarily want to have to go down. But it was also something that taught me a lot about who I was and the things that I wanted to do and where I wanted to go and the places and people that I wanted to interact with. And I was able to learn that by talking with somebody that I didn't necessarily like jive with. But that's where I always have learned the most, is by talking with people that I don't necessarily relate with, because then whenever I get those said things that I'm like, oh, I hate this person or whatever it may be, then that's my sign to be like, okay, well, there's probably something in this person that is trying to teach me something that I need to learn about myself. So I need to look at that reason for why I don't like this person. Once I'm able to look at that person for the reason why I don't like them, it's because that's just something within myself that I haven't necessarily accepted. That's just what I've come to realize, because everybody that I've come in contact with and seem to talk with is like projecting onto me like certain things. So I try to not project onto them back unless I have to, or something along those lines. But that's just kind of my perspective and my outlook on this world and on this life that we've been able to come to. So like, just because people don't like you, just because you don't jive with somebody, doesn't mean that it's not true. And each person that you don't like is teaching you a lesson on how you can enjoy yourself even more. So then when you do start to come in contact with other people where you're like, hey, I like talking with you, I like having these conversations, I like interacting, it's like, okay, clearly that person is showing you something about yourself that you do like, and that's great. You can do more of that. And then when you have somebody come into your life that you don't like, that is kind of like hated, or whatever it may be, then you can look at that and be like, okay, well, what aspect of this person do I not like? Why do I not like them? And then if that's the reason for me not liking them, there's probably that aspect within my own self that I don't like. So I need to look at that. And then once I start to look at that, then I can start to become more free. I can help you out with this as well too. I do have a link down in the description for you to book a call with me. It's a coaching call, because I've been doing a lot of self-discovery, a lot of self-analyzing, a lot of self-actualization over the years. And I just figured I might as well share that with you, so that like you don't have to worry about like if you're being loved or hated, and you can start to be somebody that more inspires somebody to take action. If you don't want to book the call, you can always subscribe to the channel with notifications on. It does help out, because then you at least don't miss these videos, since I do release them every single day at 9 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. If that's something that you're interested in and you want to learn more about this, just click those 2 buttons, and then I'll see you guys on the outside or on the inside, depending on where you're at. And if I'm pushing buttons within you right now, I recommend trying to figure out like, well, why are these buttons being pushed in the first place? Let me figure that out. If I can figure that out, then the rest of the stuff will just take care of itself.